and I think that one is recording as well. Sorry about the ungainly start there, folks. Right, okay, stay there. Hi. Apologies, main camera, if my eyes suddenly divert off to there. I've got a standby camera there. Apologies, standby camera, for the fact that I'm going to be talking to this one. The discs keep flowing. Okay, let's see if we can get through this in a relatively short amount of time. Once again, I need to come forward. The little tag there that shows me where I got to look at. Come down. So, hi. If you're new, my name is Paul Murphy, and welcome. I do mean welcome. You are welcome. And if you know me from previous visits, then hello. Thank you so much for coming back. Thank you all. Sorry, a bit choky up here. Whoever you are, you've given me your time. Take it from me, that is the most precious commodity that, that there is. So let me not waste any with too much prevarication for once. I'm going to be addressing this mainly to my longer term viewers from, well, this will be going up on YouTube, but my private Instagram channel and all those other ones. Guys, fingers crossed, it is the 6th, I can't see, 6th or 5th? 6th of December 2022. I may have got another book, it'll be a thin tome, but another anthology of lyrics out, because of how tight time is until I actually get to click the publish button. I'm not taking anything for granted at this late stage. I'm just doing the notes at the back of the book now, which are turning out to be longer than I'd anticipated, but they're nearly finished. But I need to do this now while I'm a little bit fresh. In fact, I might put some glasses on, just because I'll see how I go. The book is called Lost and Found. It's going to run to about 115 pages, I guess, of which are maybe 90 are songs, stroke prose. The background to it, I mean, we all thought that Any Last Words was going to be it, both time-wise and destiny-wise, I suppose. The very long story short is, about a week ago, I amassed a little bit more strength. I was able to get the loft ladder down, climb up in the front of the loft, and I found a box of CDs, most of which seem to be duplicates. It's not the missing master CDs to my albums, and it just seems to be a box of, well, not to denigrate it, but it seems to be a box of the CDs that I would press up and take to sell at concerts. The safety disc is now telling me that it is full up and cannot record any further. Okay, well, I can't stop on you, and I certainly can't walk, so hi there, you have my undivided attention now. Do I have yours? There was another box there. On the top of it was a box that said t-shirt printing paper. I assumed it was just old stuff from my t-shirt printing business that I did when around 2009, when I tried to settle down and be a bit respectable. More on that later. And I peeled the top of it back, and it was, it looks like this, and it's lyrics. A lot of it is duplicates of songs, either the photocopies of computer print outs. So I'm assuming that they are probably from, and some of them were songs that I knew as well. You must excuse me, I need to huff on my hands. I'm in an extraordinarily large amount of pain here, and I'm so sorry. I was like a poet for hire in those days. I was covered, I think, in the promo piece. Oh, this is meant to be a promo piece for the book as well, but, so I need to tighten it down and sharpen it up a bit. But because I always had so much material, local bands around here, or even if I just played away, you know, and some other bands would be on. You know, it's like when musos get together and we start talking. And they would ask if I had any material and stuff, and I would write songs to order sometimes if I just had some other stuff that wasn't necessarily my stuff. I would offer that round some of the other bands, you know. That tended to be the shorter, conciser ones, you know. 2 verses chorus, 1 verse chorus, you know, and maybe a coda, as I've said many a time. I don't recall anyone ever coming up to me, you know what my stuff is like, you know, Lady Helen and stuff. Not too many people, I don't think, ever came up and said, can you write me a 25-minute song of woe, angst? And likewise, not too many of the more socially aligned ones, but, you know, a lot of people just like love songs and stuff. So, but anyway, the crux of it is that, but at the top of the box were songs that I had only one of them had I any idea of. There were 22. Most finished, just 2 that were in fragmentary form. Whether they would start and the other page is missing, I will never know. No point discussing what we'll never do. And so I've taken those, typed them up into this book. It's called Lost and Found. It's called Lost and Found for 2 reasons, because obviously the lyrics were lost and found. And the second reason it's called that, I'm not going to tell you. Apologies. There's 2 quite long ones in that, but it's a good mixture of stuff, if you'll forgive me saying so. So I'm just going to go through it here. I've got some notes on it here that I'm making as I'm doing it here. In the notes at the back, I've done a little bit onto my. So the first one that's in the book, which isn't the first one written. Oh, they all they date from 1999 to 2009. Again, more on that if I remember. Don't go off tangent in a minute. So there's handwritten lyrics, and then there is this. And most of this is empty, but the first one here, I've put it in the book. I've called it Beguiled. It was going to be called The Beguiled. I don't know if you can see this, but this generally. So I've said it before, but you see, so they all come out fully formed, and there's annotations. When I wrote it, it goes on. Actually, I've not counted the verses, but I suppose, well, I don't know, 10 pages times 3, it's maybe 30 verses, I guess. I wrote it over a period of, I started it on the 8th of January 1999 at a place where I used to work, in the post room at a certain company. So the first 6 verses were written at 12:39 p.m. because I always write them. 8th of January 1999, and I finished it on the 11th of January 1999. I've put that at the front. It's probably the major work in there. It's a long piece. Why it was never used, I've got no idea. It is a 3-sided relationship work. The only thing I can think of is that this is speculation on my part, but informed speculation. So I'd written the Maybe Tomorrow, Maybe Next Year album, now available as a lyric booklet, Maybe Tomorrow, Maybe Next Year. A love story. I don't have any of my books to hand, they've all been packed away now, I'm afraid. Oh, I just want to say, Dylan, 10 years from now, Dylan, what do you know? You're 10 now, Dylan, so 8 years from now, you will get to see, you will be given these videos, and Slothy and Daddy. Just want to say hi. And Slothy's here with me, okay? And you and Emily, you're behind me there. And you were there. Yeah, I'd written the Maybe Tomorrow Next Year and made the album. You can check out the videos on YouTube, or hopefully buy the book. All royalties on everything go to Dylan and Emily. All the book royalties, all the sales, because it's a promo piece, I'm afraid. You know, I'm really happy that you give me this time, and I love talking to you, even, you know, this distance kind of thing. If you've known me enough, you know that I make these videos talking to you like you were sitting there with me, or there, you know, because this is how you know, your comments are so kind and been so supportive and have pulled me through some dark nights. And I'm really grateful to you all, or that I could have actually had you in a room here with me. But a lot of you are in America and Australia, so anyway, focus, Murphy. Come on, focus, boy. And I know that it predates Lady Helen, because there's only two things in this this A4 folder, which is this piece here, which has no title. Well, you know, hardly any of them have titles. Only one of them, I think, had a title. So I've had to give them all new titles. Had to give them all another name. Bob Dylan. Is the first six answers on a postcard. What was I trying to say then? And out of a hat, and the winner is... Yes, that's right. The first 6 verses of what became Lady Helen is the next piece in there. Where the rest of the verses to it I don't know. I haven't put the annotation there, so I didn't think the song was finished at that point. Obviously there are another 20 verses to it to come. Most of the lyrics are intact as they came out. Maybe I didn't do this because I'd taken Lady Helen lyrics and put them somewhere else, or finished them somewhere else and took them off of that. And content-wise, Beguiled is, shall we say, a first cousin of Lady Helen. And Lady Helen, because this has got no music, but I mean Lady Helen, though I say it myself, is an awful thing to say, but I'm a stranger to these songs. Lady Helen is a damn fine piece of work. You know, it works as a lyric on its own. And the amount of work I put into the music on that, unlike anything else in my repertoire, of all 1,200 songs, I worked on that. Normally, you know, I just strap a guitar on or sit at the piano and tap it out, you know. I'd begrudgingly do some overdubs to make it, but, you know, once the song was out, you know, if I had words and chords, yeah. But that one I worked and worked. There's a 24-minute long song as well, you know. And I remember scoring the string arrangement for it, which was the first time I ever scored a string arrangement. Anyway, did all that. But it's not in there. It's in that kind of remit. Interestingly, I'm so sorry again for all that. Again, as you know, my body no longer produces saliva. So I'll have to try and do what I can do to get the lips to move. He says. I started a sentence, I got no idea where I was going with it. Knowing me around the mountains and down the meadows. I didn't know whether to say paddocks or meadows then. I'm juxtaposing so many words. Talking about Beguiled, Tunty verses. No, I got no idea now. Then there's something, let me just put some glass on. I did not like the way I'm looking in the viewfinder there. What do you think? How dare you? I take your advice. First day. Well, I did have them in order. First day. Doesn't say where I wrote this. I kind of remember writing this in a cafe in Yeovil. I know the lady. I'd taken the lady in question, and we'd gone for a coffee thing. Then I think she'd gone on from the cafe. Maybe I stayed there writing it. But anyway, so well, you go there. So, why am I showing you that? I don't know. What's interesting about First Day, and again it has no title, I wrote this at 19:42 p.m. on the 30th of July 2008. It's a really nice song, you know, and it's all about a first day or a first date, I guess, you know, that initial spark of feeling for someone. Now I know, unfortunately, that this did not end well. And it didn't end well. It was probably already crashing and burning in one of our minds, even as I was sitting wherever I was sitting to writing this. But nonetheless, and again, I'm looking at these as a stranger, bear in mind, I wrote them and they've been lost for 15 years almost. I look at it now and I think, well, that's quite a nice song, you know, for someone to write about the start of a relationship, you know. I was dying of thirst in a desert of despair, and you brought an oasis to my soul. I bathed in your beauty, against which no sunrise can compare, and felt the fragments of my life becoming whole. That's quite a nice thing to write to someone, isn't it? You know? And, you know, luckily I never wrote a song called Last Day for it to to have a postscript. It exists as it is, and as I say, I'm glad it exists as it is. Maybe it's bad for me to even say that thing, but however things go in a relationship, and we'll come across that again later on, you know, never forget that, you know, that amount of love, feeling, affection, warmth, vigour, it was all there at the point the song was written, and I write it for someone else who's having their first day, man or woman. Next up, written at 10:40 a.m. on the 30th of October 2008 in a room at a place where I used to work, a very, very nasty place. It was a care organisation, can you believe it? I mention that now because here I am on the 6th of December 2022, on the 7th of February 2022, 10 months ago almost to the day. I was assessed at home. I'd spent my life savings on care for myself, most of it in taxis. I would have to get taxi drivers round, give them my cards, get them to go pay the rent, get them to do shopping, and everything for me. I mean, my legs, because I was black, two things, the leg muscles were going then, and I was suffering all these blackouts. To this day we don't know why. It's another story. Never ever ever, if you're in England, go to an NHS appointment without a voice recorder in your pocket. And after I'm gone, these tapes will go live and you will hear why. And you'll see the letters that are written, so-called, a purported document of a meeting, and then you can hear the tape recording, the actual meeting. You know, just fantasies, you know. Dangerous people, dangerous. And I was awarded a care. Someone was going to come in every day, make sure I could eat. I'm supposed to have these special NHS food supplements because my body no longer processes food. My intestines don't work anymore, so I get something called diverticulitis. The food sits in the intestine, the muscles have all gone, so they don't process through. Put your fingers in your ears if you don't want to hear this. Got them there? No lip reading. And it just goes mouldy, and I get these insane, you know, stomach. It's hard to describe it in any kind of couch, in any kind of diplomatic terms. That's not going to put a graphic image in your mind, you know, that you'll take with you. I mean, thanks to the internet, thank God, in the absence of a GP. I mean, you know, they would buy antibiotics. Actually, I can't say that, but I don't advise this. Hopefully you've got a GP. Let's not go down the route of my illness, let's stick to the book. So this song here, it was a carol, but the point of this story is, and I touch on it a little bit in the back here, is I thought that was a one-off, and this is 2008. And what they would do there is that they would, the deal was, this was private care, and the deal was that if they turned up for the appointment, if they knocked on the door and no one answered, they'd knock twice, and if no one answered, they were allowed to, the carer, add your inverted commas, was allowed to drive off. and I was in the working control room. And I was trying to settle down. I was coming up for 50. I could see 50 appearing over the horizon. 2009, October 2009, I would have been 48? Or was that 2008? That's 2008, so I'd been 47 then, I guess. It was getting a bit much, you know, throwing yourself around on stage at that age. I was shrinking it down a little bit. I used to have this wide open remit, you know, where you would just, because there was a lot of, you know, the gigs up and down the country then. This was before the pubs got shut down and everything, you know. So you're talking very early 90s. I think I branched out around 90. I was in this area, late 80s. I'd need to check the songs to find out. And you would just shove a guitar in a flight case. You know, you'd either hitch or catch a train somewhere. You'd find somewhere that had music on, live music tonight, and you just go in. Someone else on the bill? Either yes or no. What do you do? I always took a bag of CDs with me. Well, it was the late 90s. And tapes in the early days. Remember those 4-track tapes we used to make, guys, back in the old days? 4-track demo. And I'd get up and do my bit or whatever, and regale people with tales of woe or political incorrectness or whatever, you know. By political incorrectness, I don't mean using bad words, I mean the incorrectness of politicians, you know, of any government. You know, I've lived through so many different governments, you know. And we still have a housing crisis, we still have an NHS crisis, we have a care crisis, we have poverty, child poverty, we have child abuse and everything, you know. It never changes, you know. Only the recipients of the bribes change. And that was fine, but I was starting to just, I trunk it down a little bit, like, you know, it'd be, do I really want to, you know, schlep up to London tonight and, you know, play a couple of concerts and stuff? And, you know, I was on a bill with people at that point, you know, sometimes 30 years younger than me. I mean, I don't want to say this in any kind of ego. Not many of them could. Well, let's just say they didn't do what I did, and you won't find too many people now that do what I do if you just check the YouTube videos. I mean, I'm 61 now, riddled with motor neuron disease, and yet 4 weeks ago, what's that song that I got the flack about? We're going to give them hell. You know, I mean, you can't find too many 18-year-olds that can knock that kind of power performance out, and that's just me in my condition with an acoustic guitar. You take that back 20 years and give you some idea, you know, with the vigour and vim which I used to do it. And the secret, folks, is because I always believed in the song. I always believed in the lyric. And so if I'm singing a song about, say, high rise, the screams of a baby go unheard, and the early evening darkness, it's the same in any high rise block of flats, and the authorities could not care less. I wrote that in 1982, and even just reciting it to you now, I can feel the rage against the injustice of it all, you know, bubbling just to the fore there. Anyway, so the point is, I need to get off the subject because I'm already in 20 minutes here. I don't want this to run to 2 videos. So I was just looking around and getting jobs, you know, but of course, you know, when you've been a musician all these years and stuff, you know, and then suddenly going, you know, I could pass the audition for the job, you know, because it's just another performance, really, you know. What can you bring to the table for, you know? And, well, timekeeping, you know, intuition, you know, reliability. You know, it's just like writing a song to them, you know, you knew all the buzzwords to hit and everything. You start work on Monday. Yeah, think about it, you know, stuff, you know. But the attitude, you know, that carried me through 40 years on stage never left me. You try and transpose that into a work environment where everyone's tipping, toeing around, timid as everything, you know, and resenting it because they have to swallow all this stuff because they need the pay packet at the end of the day. I did kind of resent, we'll come to it a little bit later on, that there were people that I had been supporting through my songs on stage, you know, the injustices of society, and then you'd work with them and they would be bullying your wife and they would be racially abusing, well, she wasn't my wife then, racially abusing her. And you'd get in there and you'd hear these comments and stuff. You know, you don't get that when you're a musician. You know, they either like you or they don't. You know, and if people don't like you, they'll boo you. And you've got a microphone if you've got a big mouth and you're Irish. You know, you can give it to them back and everything, like, you know, and stuff. You know, hecklers never bothered me, and I never had too much trouble with them. You know. I was quite lucky in that respect, I guess. You know, for some, you know, whatever reason, people, you know, seem drawn to me on stage or whatever. I've gone off message here. This is called Never Gonna Fall in Love Again. I need to speed it up a little bit. How many times do you hear me saying that in these things? And it's got a chorus. It's a very short one. What's the use to keep on chasing all these sad charades? All I get is a losing hand, no matter what cards are played. There's no time left, can't leap the flame. Recriminations, who bears the blame? I'm never gonna fall in love again. I'm making the music as I go here. So that's, it does what it says on the tin. It tells you the song, but tells you the situation in the song. Why is that in the wrong place? And why is that in the wrong place? I wanted to bring these out as they come through. Okay, well, I don't know what's coming. Oh, that is the right one. It's because none of these have got titles on. So this one here is very much of a rarity for myself in many ways. It's typed, has no annotations. Annotations on it? Oh no, he's got the annotations. You can get some ointment for that. Oh, doctor, I've got the annotations again. God, nurse, get the screen. He's got the annotations. How did you get them? What have you been doing? Have you not been using protection? Sorry, where was I going with this? Yeah, and it's got music on as well. And it's got a chorus, and it's quite a nice little song. Again, it's just a nice little... I actually played this a couple of times before the fingers died for the final time a few days ago. And the chorus on it, it leaps into a nice C to a nice E. And I mean, it rocked me, you know. I thought, yeah, you know, it's just one of those, if you're a musician, you know those chord changes and you get the cadence on it, where the lyrics meet the chord changes and the cadence is right and you've got the rhythm, and you can just lean back into it and the guitar just does all the work, you know. You've got the song on cruise control and you just got to tap into the emotion of it. And then it goes to an A minor off of the E, which is it's quite a surprising chord change. If you think about it, it's going from C major into an E major. So it's not going to the relative minor of C, which would be the A minor, obviously. And it's not going to the E minor, which, again, you might think, so of all the things to come off of a C into, if you're going to go major, you would go D or maybe up to the G. So you come off the C into the E minor, then it goes into the E major, then it goes down to an A minor, but it only stays on the A minor for one strum, and then it goes to an A7th. Quick tap onto a D7th. And then back up again. Do you bring out? It's what I refer to in the notes here as the chorus is like a Hallmark song, and that is in no way a denigratory or a derogatory term for those kind of things. I loved it when those songs would come to me, but it's one of those, well, if I read it to you, you bring out the best in me like no one else can do. That's why I'm by your side, and that's why I love you. And what I mean by Hallmark is you could take that chorus, just take it by a blank card, Valentine's Day, wife's birthday. Once again, dear friends, I'm so sorry. Maybe you can hear it. I live next to an airbase and there's all kinds of nonsense going on over in the east at the moment in Ukraine and everything. And this has been going on for, you know, you get 10 minutes when someone's not flying over. Next day, that's just... Might be the same aeroplane, really, just been flying around for the last 6 months. Might be lost looking for somewhere to land. What I mean by Hallmark is you can take that chorus, Valentine's Day, write that into a card, give that to your wife, girlfriend, husband, boyfriend. Don't give it to your secretary, you get sued. And you know, and you are top of the class for that day, you know. I'd like someone to put that in a card and give it to me, you know. You must excuse me, my diaphragm is contracting if I'm making strange faces here. 29 minutes. Okay, this will run to 2 or 1.5 videos. Well, what am I saying? 1.5 videos is still 2 videos, isn't it? You know. I can't tell you too much about the composition of these songs. Some in a minute, because they're new. I didn't know I'd written them. You know, I know I wrote them when I wrote them, but they've been lost all these years. It did occur to me that I found, with what I've got in here, there's more words here now. What am I up to here? Well, of course I've written the notes, but I guess the songs roll in at about 8,000 words, which is like, you know, the entire Beatles output. And I just found them in a box, and due to the length of them as well. But anyway, let's not go there. Right, so it's a nice, it's very positive and upbeat and optimistic, even without the music. And then we go to this one here. This was a very big surprise to me. Dylan and Emily, my beautiful children. Okay, so this Dylan and Emily. I know it comes out the wrong way there, but you can see that. I wrote this on the 13th, and it's got a title. I'm assuming the title was original. I don't recall writing that the other day. It's called At the End of the Day, which is one of those things where sometimes you get a phrase and you'll work a song back from there. So although I'm terrible for choruses, allegedly, I know where that came from, but you know, I mean, it's probably 2 for 1, but you're right. If you look at my catalogue, I'm still like, you know, even if you look on the basic level, you've got 300 songs with a chorus there. That's not too bad going, really, you know. But you get a phrase. There was one I was going to write the other day, actually. It was in an episode of Teen Titans. Should have seen that, and Raven says, should have seen that coming. And I thought, that's a title for a song there. And then you work backwards and write the song for it, you know, using it as a refrain. I wrote this at 02:23 in the morning on the 13th of February 2009 at a travel hotel, not a million miles from where I'm to at the moment. That narrows it down, doesn't it? Because, I mean, you know, Mars might not be a million miles from where I'm to at the moment. I don't know how far away Mars is. The Moon is 250,000 miles away, isn't it? So I guess Mars is a bit further than that. 248,000 miles, is it? From Earth, the Moon. That was interesting to me to find. I didn't realise until I got down to the bottom of it and I was reading it through to type them up and everything. I'm going to have to go into a second video. I don't want to do what I've done before, which is just leave them running. Battery info. Okay. The other camera there is flashing messages at me. Why couldn't it record? What I might be able to do then is if I turn this off, now that I've reached the end of this one, I'll put another video cassette into there. I won't be able to go on too much longer because of pain in my throat. In fact, I'm not going to do that. By the time I've done that, the legs will have gone. So I'm going to end this now, and to be continued. It's up to you if you wish to come back to me. So, knock knock. You have to tune in the next video to find out.